Hi, this is Maggio at Studio Anabami with the podcast Marking into the Paradigm. This is the episode Invisible Marks. This is an approach to the visual arts and creative process that alters our habitual perceptions of reality. This episode explores the interfaces of marks that we can see and we cannot see. Mark Levy, in his Void in Art, has a wonderful line where he says, "The work of art is a mental suspension, not a mental diversion." Synchronicities astoundingly show up as warnings, confirmations, and prophecy, even as they have no relationship to cause and effect. Just so, many of the marks that guide and direct our lives come out of the blue and are not even visible. Recognizing synchronicities and visible marks and the places without marks can provide as much information and nuance as marks themselves. This invisible void can have a more complex correlation to the relational field, the network of connections and interactions that shape our experience and influence our behaviors. As mentioned in episode 3, Joy, referring to awe, enlarging the container of the mystery means perceiving more possibilities in the relational field, even if we do not understand them. The void, with a capital V and void, is related to invisible marks in art and in life, metaphorically and literally. But because void is difficult to predict and control, it is often viewed as negative, empty, or even eerie. An historical view of void through art asks us to pay as much attention to what is not marked than as to what is marked. From this awareness, the void, and even the void, has a fertile space. Mark Levy again supports our rational mind to enlarge the context of the void in terms of the many cultures and eras that depict and honor this space. There are numerous ways to engage the void through the visual arts. The revealing of marks that are not immediately visible forces us to release planned strategies and to be present in the moment. Working with invisible marks releases us from our illusion of control. With this practice, the void is no longer just a design element, but acts as a collaborative engagement, redefining our place as art practitioners, where we are not at the center, but are part of a team or a bigger whole. The act of marking in partnership like this with the greater whole is to enter a learning curve that affects one's relationship not only to the creative process, but how one sees all art. Because the practice in the studio cultivates embodiment of process, our perceptions begin to change consciousness, questioning habits and old beliefs. There are multiple ways to engage a broader relational field, with techniques to create invisible marks in marking. A treatment to the paper or to the substrate surface may not be immediately visible, but it shows up later when the pigments are added. Another way is to create clear modeling paste or matte medium impressions from textured or patterned surfaces that fade into the background when dry. These textured surfaces force new engagement as the pigment reveals the textured nuances. Sanding the surface through stencils, scoring with various implements, or otherwise altering the paper surface provides new roadways to explore as you mark the new landscapes. No mark, or when space is left untouched, can act as a kind of editing. Covering marks with paper to look like no marks allows for recreation of void. Reclaiming the empty space with subtraction is a way to break the pattern of constant addition, which we all tend to do. In the deeper Japanese concept of notan, there is no division between subject and object. On the picture plane, object and background cannot be separated, but instead they define each other. Just as the contrast of yin and yang is not two separate qualities, but exists to inform each other. This is directly related to the concept of duality, which has been used to give rise to polarization and opposition, instead of acting to inform and complement. We have become more alienated from each other and our environment. This marking practice seeks to redefine our relationship to the materials and to the relational field with rapport rather than separation. An example of visual perceptions and convenience of polarization is to look at a tree or a bush in nature, in the daylight. Note the values and the range of values from dark to light, not relating any of it to color, but just to dark and light. Most people can immediately distinguish the very light value and the darkest in the midtone. When you press, you can perceive more values in between, maybe 6. A plein air painter can distinguish and depict as many as 9 values on the spectrum from dark to light. Instead of glancing, they take in the whole and allow themselves to see the subtleties that enrich the viewing. It takes practice and is essential in creating illusion of space in realistic as well as abstract paintings. Much of the range of our senses is habitual, so with a few new habits, it will be just as easy to recognize the whole. Seeing only in contrast means we miss the nuances and textures of the bigger picture. Here we are open to perceiving experientially not the values, but the new integral relationship. Albert Einstein is famous for having said that we all must question if we believe we are living in a friendly universe or not. How we perceive the interface of object and subject can be fundamental to how we perceive our safety. In polarization, there's always a looming other that is frightening and unknown. Through the art practice, as we get to know more about the world and each other, our fundamental relationship to the universe is modified. We are thus releasing ourselves from fear and allowing the brain to move beyond the flight or fight response and into the relaxed reflection we all need space for. Please consider us at Studio Anavami in this endeavor. Thank you for listening.